That's right. Runes are back. Tales of Runes and Ordinal's death has been greatly over exaggerated. If you don't know the playbook by now, it's kind of on you. Every time somebody thinks and says that these things are dead, they proclaim, runes and Ordinals are dead. Just the same way they have proclaimed that Bitcoin is dead over the past 15 years. They come back. I don't know what to tell you at this point. And if you've been engaging in this ecosystem, again, use caution, but like it's kind of obvious that these things are here for a while and that they're going to generate fantastic returns for people who get lucky and execute well. But this show's not about how to speculate. I more analyze the market. This is Bitcoin Season 2, where I talk to degens and the technical folks and kind of interweave the cultural and the technical together. I think they're both very important and they tell the same story. But before we get too far into that, a word from our sponsor, Botanix. Bitcoin Season 2 is brought to you by Botanix. Botanix Labs is pioneering a new direction for DeFi with the first EVM L2 running on Bitcoin that's built to be forward secure, decentralized, and share gas fees generated by the network with users. See the future of DeFi at Botanix, botanixlabs.xyz. So this week, Rune's total market cap flipped BRC20's total market cap. BRC20 is the first like major token standard that came out of Casey's ordinals and inscriptions protocol. And then Casey, in response to BRC20s, saying BRC20s are a very poor execution of this idea, he invented runes, which are comparatively the least insane way to do tokens. And it's even received some positive feedbacks from a lot of the critics in the technical community say, well, okay, if you're going to do a token standard on Bitcoin, runes are probably how you're going to do it. But anyway, when runes launched last spring at the halving on April 19th and 20th, we had explosive volume on chain and then not a lot of action on secondary. In fact, we saw one of the worst punishing summer bear markets for ordinals and secondary assets on Bitcoin since the 2023 summer doldrums. But this past week, runes have finally flipped the previous #1 token standard on Bitcoin, BRC20. I believe the metrics as of last night, where runes are closing in on 1.9 billion volume total market cap, whereas BRC20s are 1.8 billion total market cap. I don't have updated numbers as of today, as of this morning, but this is significant. And it seemed like it happened under everyone's noses. Like those of us who've been in the ecosystem for really since the beginning saw this, had been tracking this. But to watch it live, I think was a shot across the bow to a lot of people. So I'll be reviewing some metrics about this event, and then I'll go into some other topical news events of the week in the broader ordinals ecosystem. So first of all, let's just take a look at mempool.space, because we have here within an hour, really just within a few blocks, we have another difficulty adjustment. And the difficulty adjustment, the retarget is only slightly upwards, 0.8%. The previous difficulty adjustment was a large one. It was 6%. And fees are a little bit up this week. We are seeing right now, to get into the next block or two, you need 15 to 19 sats per VByte. And we are seeing fees per block be around 0.19, 0.16, 0.18. Like this is a much healthier fee market than we saw over the summer, where we basically had minimal transaction fee activity. But you got to wonder, where are these fees coming from? Are these just from ordinals transactions and runes transactions? And the answer is yes. In fact, the majority of the transactions on the Bitcoin network today, and really the past week, have been runes mints. That is, they're not financial transactions, but rather by number, they have been runes mints. One of the quick ways we can get a snapshot is if you go to mempool.space and you go to this front page and you see the iconic mempool.space block visualization here. You can turn on mempool goggles, and all you have to do is just click this data tab here, and that will show you at a quick glance what of the transactions in the block would we classify as data? This would include ordinals, inscriptions, BRC20s, and runes. Just at a quick glance, you can see these small squares here, and they have the green section op return highlighted. That is probably a runes transaction because it exists in the op return field. Let's click on it. And in fact, we do have here on mempool.space, it identifies this op return as a runestone. In fact, it tags it for us. This was a kind of somewhat controversial design decision from mempool.space because certain people did not want mempool.space to easily identify what transactions were doing. But I do believe that the purpose of a block explorer is to help the viewer and the user understand what's happening. So anyway, this is an interesting phenomenon. Let's take a look. Congrats to Ord.io for kind of breaking the news on the runes flipping BRC20s news with this tweet last night. Breaking runes has officially flipped BRC20 volume to become the #1 fungible token standard on Bitcoin. Let's take a look at some other charts. Here is a chart by Genie Data. And if you're listening, I will just describe this. But here's a chart by Genie Data, which just shows the overall runes market cap at a glance. If we look back in August, we saw $860 million total market cap. We saw this grow in kind of fits and starts over the early part of the fall through September and October. We saw it briefly climb over a billion, about 1.4 billion in early October. And really the past week, we have seen this market cap soar. It is now 1.91 billion, closing in on $2 billion total market cap today. A lot of this volume has been driven by the token Dog Go to the Moon. If you want the play-by-plays of everything Dog, you can follow Leonidas NFT or Leonidas OG, whatever. You can follow Leonidas on Twitter, and he is talking about Dog all day and all night. And in fact, I did an interview with him about this Dog token and the idea of meme coins on Bitcoin on a previous episode of Bitcoin Season 2 in June. So make sure you go watch that, the previous episode of Bitcoin Season 2. Quote, the title is "The Biggest Meme Coin on the Biggest Blockchain." So Dog Go to Moon on the day is up 5%, and on the week is up 52%. I mean, if we look at the past week's worth of runes price activity on MagicEden, we are seeing crazy returns. Cyphergenesis, which is Butoshi's AI meme coin that has a corresponding Twitter account which tweets from a language model, that is up 648%. Gizmo, a derivative of the Pups token, which is associated with Bitcoin Puppets, Gizmo up 16%. Billion Dollar Cat, flat. Memento Mori, Casey and Aaron's Hell Money airdrop token, up 34%. Bitcoin Bro Bear, up 200%. RSIC is the only one, down 17%. Maybe that tells you something. So it's been really fun to watch this. Congratulations to everyone who made it through. Again, practice caution. You can never go wrong DCAing into Bitcoin. But right now, the runes market is hot and it's really fun. I will be writing a piece kind of differentiating some of these meme coins from a path dependency and kind of how they got here standpoint, to be published in the Blockspace newsletter tomorrow morning, Tuesday. Now, one last chart is, we'll go to data always, Dune dashboard. I'm just going to show you one chart, and this shows of the inscriptions happening on chain right now, what percentage are doing what. So we can see this chart here, which says over time, like 20% of inscriptions are images, 30% are BRC20s, 15% are text. So today, right now, we've seen images go from being about 50% of all inscriptions about a month ago to now declining to about 28%. BRC20s are now about 60% of the transactions by number, and very few are JSON and very few are text. So this is an interesting phenomenon to identify. I've been talking about this for the past 2 years. That is that when fees on chain go up, and we see this as I talked about at the beginning, 15 to 19 sats for VByte right now. When fees go up, the percentage of text or the percentage of image inscriptions typically declines as percentage of overall inscriptions. This could be driven by twofold. One, it could just mean there's a secular increase in these token mint type schemes, which means there's just net more tokens being minted, which are not images. And it can also mean that images, because they're more data heavy, they're larger, they are just more expensive. So maybe the market is more sensitive to inscribing large images on chain. So that's an interesting observation I've taken out of that. One more chart, Shudu's Liquidium dashboard, where we can see, if we look at the daily volume of Liquidium, September we saw kind of a low in terms of lending activity since the launch of Liquidium earlier this year, and we saw a growing ratio of runes to ordinals lending activity for a cumulative of about 15 Bitcoin per day in total lending activity on average per day this past month. But right now, if we want to take a look at it, the spot ratio of runes to ordinals lending activity on Liquidium is about 7 to 3. 7 Bitcoin on runes to 3 Bitcoin to ordinals. That would be the images. So we're seeing the lending activity for fungible tokens on Liquidium is now surpassing that of the images. This is a very interesting phenomenon to watch. And I think the other metric I really want to watch, and this is not, no one's been identifying this yet. So this is kind of a unique insight. A lot of what I've talked about is how do you identify net new users entering the ecosystem? Like, how do you identify if there are actually more people in ordinals today than there were 6 months ago? And previous methodologies have just had a simple heuristic, which is they take number of active addresses. And as you know, you can have one wallet with many different addresses. This is a common way to farm airdrops or to just segregate different wallets and assets within a portfolio. But whenever you do that, you create a bunch of new addresses. And I think as the market has gotten more sophisticated in that, using net number of new addresses created in the ordinals ecosystem becomes less useful. So what are more useful metrics? Well, daily active users on these platforms could be one. And Shudu has provided a daily active users metric for Liquidium on his dashboard here. And you can see here, September, we had about 160 daily active users. That was a low since pretty much early last spring. And we've seen a gradual increase since the bottom of September to being around 230, 250 daily active users on Liquidium. So this is pretty significant, I think, because while I would say this is probably more of a sample size for the network, and maybe it could just be attributed to more users being more active on the platform. I do think daily active users on various apps is a very, very useful indicator for new people entering the ecosystem. I'll try to get more data on this. And if you're listening to this and you have daily active users numbers for your platform, please hit me up. Let's get into the other news. Just now dropped a couple hours ago, the Taproot Wizards announced that they are dropping a cool explorer tool, community explorer tool called the Spellverse, where they basically show you all the different submissions that people have submitted to the various Wizards quests over the past year and a half. It's a really, really cool application, beautiful user interface, and you can enter the Spellverse, and you can fly around. Visualization and go to these various stars and planets, and you can see, oh look, here's like a video that someone made about during the OpCat contest last January. So this is a really fun thing to watch. You gotta love the Wizards projects. Like, this is not this is more of a community facing tool than some of the more engineering facing tools that they've also been building in the background. Other news. we have the MagicEden tokenomics just dropped. I have not had a chance to really dive into this very much because this is only like 15 minutes before I went live here. But the MagicEden Foundation has been saying we're going to launch a token, the token ID ME MagicEden token. They've had to kind of restructure the company for this too, from a regulatory standpoint. And so they said they dropped the tokenomics. And my first review of the tokenomics and bouncing it off some of my Degen chat groups that I'm in indicate that this is well received by the community. It's going to be released over a period of, I think, 4 years. There is allocations for contributors, community, strategic participants, and an initial claim. They have not released, as far as I'm aware, the number of tokens you can claim per amount of MagicEden diamonds you have in your wallet. So that is not clear yet. But it is, I would say, a pretty standard, well thought out, if you want to use those terms, tokenomics. But I think also more interestingly, they actually also released some information about where their platform sits, like in the overall ecosystem. So they've done over $6 billion in total trading volume to date. They have 80% of the volume share on all Bitcoin secondary assets. This is massive. 80% of volume across ordinals and runes. They have 60% of the revenue for all NFT platforms and 29% user share in the past year. This is like, compare this against OpenSea, the big winner of last cycle, valued at multiple billions, which has continued to decline in both user and interest. And then MagicEden says they have 300,000 monthly active users on MagicEden's mobile app, 3 million total wallets. These are some real numbers. Like, if you want probably the mainstream winner of going into this cycle for NFTs and now, I guess, cross-chain assets, MagicEden seems to be positioned really, really well. And if you believe that assets on Bitcoin are going to be like the thing, they currently have 80% of the volume and seem to have no signs of slowing down. So congrats to MagicEden for their historical performance. We'll see how this token generation event plays out. I don't know if I will cover it that much because it's not clear to me if this is a Bitcoin related news story. They have not they haven't actually said what chain they're going to launch it on. I would assume Solana, but given the cross pollination between MagicEden as a platform, Solana users, and all that, I think this is kind of at least relevant at this point. So we'll be watching that. Also, in other news, moving on now, if you've stayed with me, some technical news. Casey and Raf continue to work on the ORD client. This is the client that the Ordinals protocol and Runes protocol is implemented in, and that most other marketplaces then just use to power their backend. So they did another release, ORD 0.2 1.3. I did a little initial tweet breakdown, as did Casey, but they added some quality of life features. Being able to split UTXOs, you can store the wallet from a timestamp, you can get more information about the addresses, and then one of my favorites, which is BIP322 signing within the client. If you don't know what that is, you know the Matrica wallet connect thing you can do to connect Matrica or in these like Atlas third party applications in Discord. You can say, I have this asset and now I can get into the Discord. That's the token gated Discord. Well, it works differently on each blockchain, but for Bitcoin, the predominant method of doing that is there is a method where you can sign a message from an address using a convention called BIP322. So you sign a message from that address and you prove that you have that you own that address and you can sign from it. And then that's what Matrica and Atlas and these other kind of token gated tools use to do that actual logic in the background. So you can go and read the full release, the ORD release for yourself on GitHub. if you wish. Again, underrated alpha to at least set up a GitHub account, go follow some developers and ask them questions, and maybe even just participate in the ongoing discussion on the Ordinals GitHub. Otherwise, I'm going to round out this stream by just showing you what's happened in the top quote Bitcoin NFTs category. It is all green today. Everything is up. Node Monks, Puppets, Runestone, Wizards, Quantum Cats, Pizza Aliens, a new entrant in the top 10. Base Angels, Yokai Avengers, Pizza Ninjas, Bitmap. We're still kind of mixed on the week, but we are seeing a significant recovery in these asset prices. If you've been following me for more technical content, you may have to sit tight, because I think the next week or two, I may be focused a little bit more on runes and this kind of like these secondary markets developing on top of Bitcoin, because they have deep and direct implications and impact on the activity on the Bitcoin base layer from a fee standpoint to an engineering standpoint. So yeah, thank you so much for following along. Make sure to check out other Bitcoin Season 2 and Blockspace content. We're streaming everywhere streams are found. Blockspace content, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at blockspace.media and our other shows, the Mining Pod and the Gwart Show. Otherwise, I will see you later.